Grab your hat and saddle up, because we're about to take a ride through the wild, wild west and meet some of the most downright meanest hombres ever to draw iron on the silver screen. Michael Gambon as Denton Baxter plays the take-no-prisoners bully who ruthlessly lords it over the townsfolk of Harmonsville. Shot full of holes and defiant to the end, Baxter utters his last words, "You're nothing," to which good guy Robert Duvall replies, "Maybe so, but I'll still be breathing in another minute." Described by the actor himself as the meanest SOB in the movies, Dan Duryea as Waco Johnny D covets the rifle stolen from good guy James Stewart at the beginning of the film. Branded by one character as the lowest thing standing in a pair of boots, Waco pushes the current owner of the rifle into drawing his gun, and then plugs the sap, taking the weapon for his own. It's not all bad news though. Waco eventually gets his from the business end of James Stewart's gun, dying face down in the dirt where we always knew he belonged. Only a few minutes into the film, killer Charlie Prince has already murdered 2 Pinkerton detectives and gut shot that nice Peter Fonda. He then ups the sadism count later on by burning a man alive trapped in the locked stagecoach. It takes gang leader Ben Wade, played by Russell Crowe, to finish Prince off by shooting him in the chest at point blank range. Never was a screen death so richly deserved, although the next killer on the list might just as easily follow by. After playing a good guy in for a few dollars more, Cleef reverts to type as Angel Eyes, pumping 4 bullets into the face of the man who hired him to kill someone else. Cleef giving the audience a trademark chuckle as the words "the bad" flash up on the screen in blood red. Like, we didn't know that already? Angel then goes on to beat Eli Wallach as Tuco nearly to death before Clint Eastwood shoots him dead in the climactic showdown at Sad Hill. To be honest, Cleef's death scene is a bit too cut and dry for our liking. On the other hand, dead is dead. Gene Hackman's portrayal of the no-nonsense sheriff Little Bill Daggett in the Clint Eastwood western Unforgiven reveals how deeply disturbed this so-called man of the law is. Daggett's fate is sealed at the end by Clint Eastwood's gunfighter William Money, whose philosophy in life is encapsulated in the phrase, "We all got it coming, kid." To prove the point, he aims a loaded shotgun in Little Bill's face and then blows his head clean off. As outlaw Frank Usher in the Randolph Scott classic western The Tall T, Richard Boone orchestrates the death of his station master and his young son Jeff by having them murdered and then thrown down a well. Sadistic or what? Usher then outdoes himself by having stagecoach driver Rintoon, played by Arthur Honeycutt, also shot and dispatched down the well too. Stoic Randy then removes both of Usher's compatriots from the scene before putting the main villain out of business with a dose of lead poison. Henry Fonda performed a complete role reversal as blue-eyed killer gun-for-hire Frank in Sergio Leone's western Once Upon a Time in the West. His first act of brutality is to murder a family of 3 children before killing the father for good measure. In a flashback sequence, Frank hangs the brother of a young boy, standing the older sibling on the boy's shoulder before shoving a harmonica in the kid's mouth. That kid grows up, morphs into Charles Bronson, now known as Harmonica, announcing his presence by playing some real cool slow blues on the very harp Frank had gifted him years before. Then he shoots him. The film was long enough as it was, so we're thinking that was a good call on Sergio's part. Dave Wagaman, deranged son of a wealthy rancher, burns the wagons and kills the mules belonging to Will Lockhart, played by James Stewart, who has accidentally trespassed on Wagaman's land. Later on, Mad Dave accuses Lockhart of stealing cattle. A gunfight ensues in which Wagaman gets shot in the hand. In an astounding act of brutality, Dave orders 2 of his men to hold Lockhart still, as he then blasts him in the hand as well. In the end, it's not Lockhart who puts Dave out of his misery, but Vic, played by Arthur Kennedy, who sold rifles to the Apaches that resulted in the death of Lockhart's brother. Sometimes you just have to put a mad dog down. Therapy was never going to sort that boy out. Sadistic bandido El Indio breaks out of jail, murders every guard he can find, then tracks down the man who had him captured, forcing him to listen whilst his wife and child are taken outside and murdered. Then he shoots the guy dead. After this, you're just aching for the moment when Indio gets what he deserves, which he finally does at the hands of Lee Van Cleef's bounty hunter Colonel Mortimer, whose daughter Indio was murdered earlier. When we first see Wilson in action, he's pushing dirt farmer Stonewall Tory, played by Elisha Cook Jr., into going for his gun and then beating him to the draw. Shane finds Wilson in the saloon where all the bad guys live, provoking him to go for his gun. Wilson obliges, so Shane coolly dispatches him with 1 shot, thus creating at the same time one of the most satisfying bad guy death scenes in Western movie history. We hope you liked our video on Psycho Killer Cowboys. Please like and subscribe.